so many distractions. Some innovative and inspiring colleagues are embracing this potential. And in the next half an hour, you will hear directly from some of them about exciting AI initiatives currently underway, each with the aim to strengthen our mission to support children and families around the globe. My name is Thomas Rubacher, and together with Natalia Maria Buenos Torres from the GSE Communication and Brand Department, with Dario Pitta, Rodolfo Negron, and Daniela Ramirez from the GSE Program Department, with Amy Feng from SOS Sweden, and with Brad Koblinger and Florian Edelmeier from the GSE ICT Department, we will present you the following topics. We start with some thoughts on data as the fuel for AI and some findings on AI and other NGOs. Then we will see the SOS Children's Villages GPT. This is an AI assistant for brand-aligned communications, followed by AIVA, an AI assistant for project documentation in natural language. After this, an automated donor reporting tool will show us how to turn data easily into impact stories. And last but not least, we will talk about predictive donor churn analytics and the question, which donors are we going to lose soon? At the end of our discussion, we will have some 15 minutes for Q&A and discussion, and then closing final remarks of the president. Let's start with the question how AI is powered and where its answers are coming from. The answer is data is the fuel of artificial intelligence. While AI may seem intelligent, it is not at all. It cannot work without intensive training. For AI to deliver meaningful insights, it needs to be trained on millions of text records, images, or structured data sets, depending on purpose. Having such data available to train AI got a competitive element in business, because who has better data can train AI better. In the GSC, we are trying to systematically increase the amount and quality of data available for effective steering, monitoring, and future forecasting. Our various digital systems allow us to collect this data in a structured and consistent way, which is very impossible. Through our global data hub on which we are working currently, we will be able to aggregate, analyze, and report on this information across all systems. And this information, this data, will be the foundation for our future AI applications. Of applications we probably cannot even imagine today. This means that investing in data quality and quantity also is a strategic investment in using AI effectively and in a responsible way in the future. Now let's take a quick look how other NGOs are doing with AI. Actually, I found that this topic is very vast and probably too large to cover in 5 minutes here. But it's a good topic to show you for the first example how we can use AI in a very simple and effective way, letting it do a deep research on the internet. We just need to instruct AI in a clear way what we expect from it, and then select an AI model specifically built for such deep research. And here comes the AI I used with ChatGPT, for example. You can use, of course, other AI tools, no problem, Gemini, Mistral, whatever. It all works more or less the same. You can see I'm telling the AI on what it should focus in his research, which priorities I have in terms of selected NGOs, how the report should be formatted, and the priorities in terms of content. And important, I'm using an AI model in ChatGPT, which is optimized for text research. It's called the O1 model. The results have been impressive. You can find the full research document on the Senate workspace. It has not been corrected by a human because I wanted to show you how good the original document created by AI is already. The time effort to create such a deep research document is small. It takes me about 15 minutes to write a good prompt, and it takes the AI maybe 15 minutes to research the web and compile the answer. Of course, in the real world, before you publish such a document for internal or external purposes, you would need to validate it on several criteria. And this is something only a human can do, because AI is never free of errors or hallucinations. It can also be quite repetitive in quoting or suboptimal in summarizing. So you have to brush it, that's clear. But all in all, you can easily see that this is a tremendous help and save a lot of time in doing the first steps in an advanced research process. So the first steps you can do easily via AI. The second and the third step is, of course, still human. Finally, let me show you also a short management summary of the findings, also AI created. What AI thinks is that NGOs are indeed starting to use AI in program delivery, in fundraising, in optimizing internal processes. The research found various examples. The key benefits are considered to be 24/7 availability, because AI is always awake and always addressable. It helps in faster decision making and in operational cost saving. Very important is also for NGOs that we use an ethical approach to AI. AI can be abused in a lot of ways, and of course, we NGOs should not do this at all. And this is also transparent when you research the web and when you see when you look what other NGOs are doing. There is a lot of emphasis on this topic, and I think this is great that we NGOs go ahead in a ethical only approach to AI. And also, of course, a result of research was that the importance of AI training for staff, as well as a strong partnership with experts or industry, is absolutely needed and shouldn't be underestimated. Because in the end, it's always getting complex when you get into more advanced AI models and projects. So as you can see, the summary makes sense and addresses important topics relevant for NGOs. The full report is even more interesting to read and very rich of examples. Check it out. There are examples from PLAN, from us, SOS, from SAFE, from Welthungerhilfe, from Red Cross, from Terre des Hommes, from World Vision, and from many others. It's worth reading it. So with this short demo of an automated research, I'm closing my part. And I'm handing over to Dario Pitta, who will guide you through the various AI demonstrations of our experts.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you for showing the potential of AI at SOS and highlighting that we build the systems and gather the data as a foundation for it. I'm Dario, being in charge for PDB and Prodigy, our program IT systems, who provide us the program data that we can use now for all of the following exercises. Today, we will take you on a journey through SOS and show you how AI can help us to achieve our joint mission. And we will start with Natalia, who provides the required business context, like our brand. Over to you, Natalia.
Thank you, Dario. Hi, everyone. My name is Natalia Bueno, and I am Global Brand Advisor. And well, this project started with something that I believe many of you relate to. It's a challenge that we as a brand team have consistently encountered. And yeah, we as a global federation working in more than 130 countries. Despite that diversity, we all want one thing: to speak with one voice. And this is not an easy one, I know. To make that happen, the brand team have done it all. We have done workshops, trainings, e-learning guidelines, but still, it hasn't been enough. We also started noticing something. Many colleagues were turning to tools like ChatGPT, the AI assistant that helps to write, brainstorm, summarize things, and more. The results were sometimes impressive, I have to admit it, but often off-brand, outdated, or simply not us. At first, we saw a huge problem, but then we also saw an opportunity. Instead of telling people not to use these tools, what if we give them one that actually knows our brand, voice, and values? That's when we discovered we could develop our own environment within ChatGPT, and we created our SOS Children's Villages GPT, a customized version that understands our organization. So we fill it with public and non-sensitive documents, including binding documents, brand guidelines, key publications, campaigns, communication statements, sample of messaging from across the federation. And to make it even more accurate, we also used a combination of custom instructions and continuously refined training data. Also thanks to the expertise of our teams who had been testing it and challenging it. And well, the best part, it's free for all users, accessible to everyone from anywhere in the world. No licenses needed, no extra step, just log in and start creating. This is how it looks like. So basically like a normal chat where you can input your question or inquiries and get an answer back. And yeah, it's different to the normal ChatGPT. Here we ask both of them a question. What is SOS Children's Villages? And I think the results speak for themselves. The normal ChatGPT has more of a discriminatory, stereotyping messaging about our organization, while our GPT is more empowering and actually reflects our values. So as you can see, like in the normal GPT, it talks about us being like rescuing children, that families have failed, that the children in our target group are vulnerable children. Whereas when we turn to our SOS Children's Villages GPT, you can see that it actually recognizes our target group. It talks about children and young people that have lost parental care or are at risk of losing it. It talks about stronger self bonds. So it's actually brand aligned. And so what the GPT can do, well, it basically can strengthen our brand. It's here to support creativity, consistency in our external and non-sensitive messaging and content. For example, it can help us to elevate through leadership. So basically, it crafts compelling narrative and content that amplify SOS's voices in the public and policy arena, but it can also support on visual communication, and it even can translate ideas into campaigns. So it is already working. And in just a few months, over 2,000 colleagues have started using our GPT worldwide in communications, advocacy, fundraising, and more. They are saving time, they're staying aligned, they're reducing back and forth, and they're communicating in their own language, but with strong voice, with one strong, clear voice, sorry. So let's see an example of the SOS Children's Villages GPT in action. For the Family Day campaign that was created by Tom Moons, head of brand, myself, and GPT, we decided it helped us to go from brainstorming to concept to actually a final product in around 2 weeks. The GPT supported us in complex tasks, giving us ideas and directions for campaigns based on our publications and identity. We specified that we were working in the Family Day campaign, that we wanted to actually focus on like what family means to our organization, and we asked to like take into account one specific document, the Child's Road to Resilient publication, for creating this campaign. It also helped us to get some inspiration by defining key concepts and sparking ideas. So the result was a bold campaign with a strong concept, striking visuals, and a clear call to action. And of course, the GPT didn't do it all, but it supported us to create a full social media strategy for positioning our brand, as well as for advocacy and fundraising purposes. The campaign will be shared worldwide on Friday, and please check it. I'm sure you'll love it as much as we do. I wish I had time also to show you the whole process of creating the campaign with GPT, but instead I'll focus on what's closest to my heart because I'm a visual brand advisor. So I'm going to show you how we brought the concept to life visually. After all, I think like visuals can call the attention, right? So, for the campaign, I imagined thread characters as a symbol of bonds and connections, so I sketched them by hand. And normally turning them into a digital product takes a lot of time, but with ChatGPT, or with our SOS Children's Villages GPT, I managed to go from here to here, and then to here in around 3 hours.
Wow.
So what is the SOS GPT really? It's about supporting us for strengthening our positioning, external communication, and activities. It's a creative partner for all of us, free, accessible everywhere, and built to help us speak with one voice. Because when we speak clearly, we can connect. And when we connect, we can inspire. And that's our goal. We want to inspire as well. So It's super useful, and the best part, this is just the beginning. So now I'll hand over to Dario again, who is going to connect us to the topic of AIVA, which represents evolution and integration of this initiative. So over to you, Dario.
Thank you so much. Thank you for showing us how we can make more out of our prompts by providing the business context. And whereas we all agree that we need to follow our business context, our brand, and our mission, a lot of the relevant business context is actually known only in the member associations, in the projects by the experts. And please let me introduce you Rodolfo and Daniela from Bolivia, who will show us how AI can support the heavy lifting of the project documentation. Over to the two of you.
Thanks, Dario. Dear colleagues, good morning from them. Can you hear me and can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, dear colleagues. Dani, please.
Thanks, Rodo. Well, now we're going to present AIVA, and this is an assistant that has been developed to play a strategic role in our organization through the connection between our processes, our system, with the artificial intelligence. So AIVA is connected to our systems such as Prodigy, PDB2, and even the Compass report to obtain strategic data to use through AIVA.
And AIVA is constantly trained with SOS Children's biggest knowledge. What means that? AIVA in this point know national strategy, principles, regulations, policies, and other key information from our organization and is stored in a secure way. But in other way, AIVA was trained with external sources and information, like information from other NGOs, global policies, and other information that is relevant for our organization. And our last recent improvement is connect AIVA to the internet. Right now, AIVA can read real-time internet information. With this, AIVA is a great tool that mix our processes with artificial intelligence. And today we want to show you two demos. The first demo is how we want to create a result frameworks and a project proposal in just seconds. And the second demo is related on how we can access to our information in a fast way. For this, we will prepare a single demo. And then if you want to introduce this, please, well, I will share my screen. We will prepare a live demo for you, and I will share my screen. Dani, please.
Yes, we have developed a few models related to AIVA, and this model is a project expert. So here we can see how, with only a few characteristics about our project, we can provide, for example, the country, the city, the main idea of our project, or the dimensions that we want to impact, even the services that we are projecting to offer through this project. And here we can see how AIVA, in just a few seconds, developed the entire result framework. And even we can ask to this AIVA project to develop the concept note, which means the project proposal. So AIVA can develop in such a few minutes with this kind of details the entire project proposal. The teams can work from this proposal, and even AIVA projects can help to the PSAs when they have to give the feedback to the projects, and they can obtain this kind of feedback in just a few minutes. So with just these simple steps, AIVA provide the entire project proposal, and then we can see how AIVA is giving us the first steps to work with the rest of the teams. Then we can see how AIVA led us to download this project proposal and work with this with our teams. So AIVA project led us to develop very quick in record time this project proposal.
Yeah, just to add, dear colleagues, right now we are working on AIVA that right now is making projects. If you can see here, we have the concept note that is the project proposal. If you see here, we have the SDGs that is related with this project, and we just need to provide just few information. To our next demo, we will talking about AIVA numbers. We developed a new model that we call AIVA numbers that have the capacity to connect with our information and obtain in a fast way information. For example, I will ask to AIVA numbers obtain the total number of participants for the 2024. Aiva right now is connecting to our database and is obtaining this information. And we'll show in a short way, just in seconds, this information. If you can see here, we have the entire region month by month execution of coverage, and we can enter in more deep. For example, I will ask to Aiva, what about the number of participants in 2024 in Bolivia? With this, Aiva can select the country, can select the months, and can select the number of participants that we reached in Bolivia in this year. But if not, it also all the things that Aiva do, we can do more analysis with Aiva. If you see at this part, we can obtain numbers, but we can do more than that. We can do analysis. Now I'm asking to Aiva, identify the most relevant services in Santa Cruz in the 2024. And Aiva immediately select the services, select the total of participants, and identify which services was the most relevant in Santa Cruz the last year. With this information, we can complement easily the project that was done. It was great in the previous seconds, previous minutes. And it's not also this, we can ask to Aiva, please make a trend analysis between the 2023 year and the 2024 year in this program. And Aiva analyze this information, cross with numbers, and we can identify here who was the coverage execution in Aiva. But what happened if I obtain this information in English? If I am working in LAM, for example, I can say to Aiva, that explain this in Spanish. So with this, we can put this kind of technology in the hands of our colleagues in national associations, in programs, to do fast monitoring processes, obtain fast data in just seconds, and we can work in different languages. So it's not necessary to receive the information in English, translate. Aiva can do that, and we can do this kind of analysis. This is just a demo. We are working to introduce more elements to Aiva. For now, we can connect Aiva to the internet, we can connect Aiva to our database, and we are working to provide more models. For now, we have two models working very well, Aiva projects and Aiva numbers. If you can see here, we are working with our information. As Thomas said before, the most important thing here is have data to analyze and put in the hands of our colleagues. With this, we finish our demo, and we back to you there, Daria.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for showing the big potential. And of course, all of these documents require a human in the loop. None of these documents can be shared with management or with the donors without carefully reviewing them. But I think you can see the potential of lowering the heavy lifting so that someone who's not as good as writing these documents, but working with children and families, we can support respectively here through the tools we have and the data that we have collected earlier. And through numbers, once you collect the data, you can democratize data. You can ask in any natural language data about your own project, which provides access to a lot more people to the data. And we believe that this also helps us boosting data quality, because if you have access to your own data, if you understand the data, then you're more willing to respectively change and improve your programs. And as the programs progress and as the quality improves, of course, our donors are also interested in the progress that we are making. And Amy will demonstrate from SOS Sweden how they made this process, the donor reporting, more efficient and effective through the usage of AI. Over to you, Amy.
Thank you. So once we have successfully developed the project idea, and also we have implemented the project with the help of Aiva, the next important thing usually we want to do is to be able to communicate the great impact we have created through our projects, especially to the donors. So a typical way of doing this is to write a donor impact report. Before we jump in, I just want to show you real quick how easy it can be today to create a donor report. So here in this tool, you write the donor's name and in which language you prefer the report to be in, which year you want to report the donor to, and then which project the donor has donated to. So why don't we pick the same project Aiva has just worked on? So we go to Prodigy and take the project ID text, paste it in here. And of course, certain donor may have special requirement that they only donate to certain service types. Then of course you can fill it in here. Otherwise you can leave it empty and click on the button. And usually this one takes a minute or so to create a donor report draft. But while it's cooking, so I want to maybe talk a little more about why we need such a tool. So, for example, in SOS Sweden, we have an editor colleague that usually works for full-time 3 months every year to be able to create donor reports. Usually she creates around 40 donor reports for our key major donors. And this has long been seen as a complicated and time-consuming process. So usually it starts with that she has to first search for the country context information on the internet to be able to demonstrate to the donor what kind of context we're working in. And then she collects manually the statistics about the project from our SOS Compass report. And then she usually has to wait quite a long time for the annual reports from the member association or the project-specific reports from the member association that has implemented the project. And throughout the process, she has to talk to a few program colleagues along the way to clarify a few things. Until then, she has gathered the right data to be able to draft such a donor report. But guess what the donors say once they receive the report? They say, it's a nice report, but they came too late. We have already passed our deadline for our CSR report for last year. So we don't have a real use of the report anymore. But I have a good news. With the tool I have just shown you, most of the tasks mentioned in this cycle could actually be automated with just a click of button, thanks to the data available today in Prodigy and PDB2. We estimate that the workload of this colleague can be at least reduced from 3 months to 1 month, and the reports created will have a much higher consistency in quality. And I have even better news that SOS Sweden has already implemented this tool in its regular work cycle. So this year we have already used this tool to create many donor report drafts so far. And just a quick mention of the internal data sources we use with this tool. It shares the same data source as Aiva, so it picks the necessary data from Prodigy, from Compass database, from PDB2, and also referring to some external data from World Bank. And also this tool has a big potential to be integrated into Aiva in the future. Okay, so let's jump back to the tool and see how it's going. So the report has been generated and we can have an overview of the report here. So it gives a communicative title of the project. And then here it shows the country background information with right references to the latest World Bank indicators. So the donor has a good grasp of the context we work in. And here is a part about the project description, and it's packaged in a way that in a much more donor-friendly language, so they understand what we actually do with our project. And this information is actually extracted as the result framework from Prodigy in our system. And here is a part about our impact in 2024. So this is the statistics we extract from Compass database. And here is an SDG analysis stating clearly what SDGs the donor has contributed to with their donation. And this analysis is done based on the project description shown above. And here's a wrap up. And of course, there's a function to download the report as a Word document, so my editor colleague can further edit it. Yes, so with this tool, we are able to actually, in such an efficient way, communicate our impact to the donors. Thank you very much. I hand it back to Dario.
Thank you so much, Amy. As for the previous, very impressive to see, and good to see how you will reach more donors and with higher quality reports. For me, the past presentation showed not only the huge potential for bringing together the data and the technology, but also the people. And I'm very proud of this joint initiative between SOS Sweden and GSC, linking the needs and the talents. But unfortunately, we are all aware that some donors might not donate in the future, regardless of how good the report is. And Brett will show us which donors we are going to lose.
Thank you very much, Dario. And thank you to everyone for this opportunity to speak to you today. I hope to discuss predictive donor churn analytics, which put simply is which donors are we going to lose. If I were to ask a fundraiser which one regular donor, a smaller donor than our previous example, but a regular donor will stop donating, they could look at all the available data and they would make a prediction, a forecast, and it would be a good one. They would have a good idea whether or not the donor would continue. Of course, they wouldn't know for sure. The donor themselves likely doesn't know for sure, but they can make a good prediction. If I asked which of several hundreds of thousands of donors will stop donating, of course, this is no longer feasible. And this is an opportunity where we can use machine learning for exactly this task, because machine learning is very good at working with large numbers. Machine learning is a subfield of artificial intelligence, and it is in fact this particular task which customers will stop paying that brought machine learning into many businesses. Traditionally, this challenge was addressed using statistical techniques, but developments in machine learning algorithms in the mid-2010s could do it better. And from that point forward, churn prediction, customer or donor, became a common task for machine learning. So on the one hand, this is an established problem within machine learning, but on the other hand, it is only 10 years old and is therefore still developing. So we will go through how we're doing churn prediction at SOS, and hopefully you also get a better understanding about this hype or buzzword around machine learning, understand what it is and where it has potential for other use cases. So for our problem and for machine learning in general, it proceeds in two steps. First, you train a machine learning model and then you can use it. To train a model, you need three things. In particular, you need historical data from our organization, your organization, which is to say SOS in as specific as context as you can get it. We want to know if the SOS donors will churn, not if they'll stop subscribing to their newspaper. From there, you need to transform the raw data into a form available for the machine learning algorithms. And this is where fundraising expertise is particularly important, as well as the machine learning expertise. Once you've prepared the data, you can train a machine learning model, which is just a very large mathematical equation. It does one thing very well, in our case, predict churn, but it only does one thing. Once you have your model, you can then use it. You take up-to-date data, you again transform the data, you ask the model to predict the probability of churn for each and every donor, and you give that information to fundraisers, and then they can use that when they're segmenting donors and selecting who they will include in their retention campaigns. So specifically in the case, well, specifically we are doing this for Latin America for about 2 years and in Asia for over a year. We take data from their fundraising systems. We have data about the donors. We have data about their regular giving pledges and also their payments. We have transformed that into 63 predictor variables, and these contain these hints about whether or not the donors will churn. We provide the data to a machine learning model. We train models once a month, and these models take all these little hints, use everything they can to then have a good prediction of whether or not a donor will churn. Just like the fundraiser, we never know for sure, but it's doing very well with the information available. Now, my demo is not nearly as exciting as the previous demos. I'm sorry, but I hope what you recognize, it is simple. For each donor, there's a churn probability. So every single donor gets one number. That number goes into the fundraiser systems, so it's easily accessible to the fundraisers. And so they can have an easy time segmenting based on risk. So they can define a high risk groups segments, and they can define low risk groups easily and quickly. So instead of worrying about risk segments, they can focus on designing innovative campaigns for engagement, ultimately to reduce churn. And in fact, in LAM, they weren't proactively approaching donors to reduce churn. They were only ever contacting donors after they had churned, but now that is changing, or has changed. We ran an experiment to see whether or not our model is working. We took all of the active donors. We made predictions for each one. We isolated the top 10% most likely to churn. This might be a segment that you would include in a retention campaign. We didn't for the experiment, but we saw which churned and which didn't. Again, we'll never know for sure, but if our model is doing a good job, we will isolate a relatively high proportion of donors who then churn in the next 2 months. And in the case of Latin America, if we were able to use the model, we could reach 250 to 400%, or 2.5 to 4 times more donors using the model than selecting randomly. So if we look generally at what we've done, we've seen how machine learning makes predictions, and in particular, they're accurate, fast, and inexpensive in compared to predictions made by people. And this is where the business value comes from. We can use these predictions to make repeated decisions. Do I contact the donor, yes or no? So broadly, it takes complex data, produces clear insights, in our case, one number. And so long as the data is of high quality, we can use that to guide our actions. Thank you very much. Dario, please.
Thank you so much, Brett, and thanks to everyone who presented. We almost covered an entire end-to-end process with examples of how AI is supporting us in the way that we work. Let me shortly sum up. We learned that our systems, for example, PDB, Prodigy, but there's so many more, and the data that we collect in the Global Data Hub at SOS build the foundation for artificial intelligence. We saw that through the SOS Children's Villages ChatGPT tool that we can use the full potential of AI by providing the required business context and how the prompting respectively gets improved. We saw that through IVA projects, we support the heavy lifting of the project documentation by still keeping the human in the loop. IVA numbers democratizes data and analytics, allowing more people accessing information, and in return helps us to improve our data quality as more people will care about the data that they enter. And then we saw that how SOS Sweden is using the data and the tools to reach more donors faster and with higher quality reports. And lastly, but for sure not last but not least, we learned that we can reach 2.5 to 4 times more donors by better understanding them. With this, we completed the roadshow of our work, and it is my pleasure to hand over again to Thomas.
Thank you, Dario. Thank you, colleagues, for these presentations. We are very well in time, and